Nintendo is one of the most creative companies in the world that owns some of the most successful and beloved franchises in gaming history. It's always been a leader in the industry, pushing boundaries with its innovations in touchscreens, motion control, and augmented reality. But it's not just about being innovative. It's about being bold. And that's exactly what has propelled Nintendo to the forefront of gaming. One of the most valuable forms of entertainment in the world, generating the most revenue compared to other mediums. Combine one of the world's most creative businesses with one of the fastest growing industries, and you should get a massively successful company, right? That's not exactly the case. It's incredible what Nintendo has achieved in its lifetime, but many investors, gamers, and die-hard fans feel that the company has failed to realize its full potential thus far. Why? Nintendo has gone through several waves of successes and failures, but the same culture that led to its bold innovations may also be holding it back. The video game developer has struggled to keep up with major technological shifts like the cloud and mobile gaming, two high-growth and high-profit areas that have propelled other tech giants to success in recent decades. Let's explore where Nintendo is falling short, how they're trying to catch up, and what gamers and investors can expect from the enterprise in the years to come. Nintendo, a name synonymous with gaming. But did you know that the company's origins date all the way back to 1889? That's right, Nintendo started out as a traditional playing card company, but over the years, it has dabbled in everything from toy production to food manufacturing and even running a taxi service. But it wasn't until the 1970s that Nintendo truly cemented its place in the gaming industry with the release of popular arcade games like Donkey Kong and Mario Bros. Fast forward to 1983, and Nintendo releases its first console, the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES in Japan. 2 years later, the NES launched globally, and just like that, Mario instantly became a household name, along with Bugs Bunny and friends. This marked the beginning of Nintendo's massive 40-year run in the gaming industry, going head-to-head with Sony and Microsoft. Throughout the years, Nintendo has delivered hit after hit, with consoles like the Game Boy, Nintendo DS, and Switch. But not all of its ventures have been successful, with the GameCube, Virtual Boy, and Wii U falling short. Despite this, the gaming giant has sold hundreds of millions of consoles and delivered billions of hours of entertainment to loyal fans. 4 of the top-selling games in history are Nintendo games: Wii Sports, Super Mario Bros., Mario Kart 8, and the OG Pokémon Red and Blue. Nintendo is known for its innovations in gaming hardware, inventing the thumb-operated control pad, analog stick, and rumble packs. However, their focus on novel innovations has caused them to fall behind in certain areas like graphics and performance, which we'll talk more about later. But what sets Nintendo apart from its competitors is not just its hardware, but its unique company culture. Nintendo approaches the use of its intellectual property in a way that is very different from other gaming businesses. Historically, the company has limited its first-party franchises to only being available on its own hardware and not on the PlayStation or Xbox. Additionally, Nintendo releases games much less frequently than its competitors, which has frustrated both gamers and investors. Nintendo generally limits the number of games for each major franchise to 1 release per console. Only 5 Super Smash Bros. Have ever been released, 1 for each console. Give Nintendo's IP to another gaming company, and they would likely milk each franchise with several remakes and spin-offs. Take Square Enix's Final Fantasy, for example. There are 95 different Final Fantasy games. According to tech veteran Matthew Ball, Nintendo only makes games and sequels when they believe there's a sufficiently new and ambitious idea. That's a lot of money left on the table. But it's not only how they approach the control and use of their IP that separates them. Nintendo's business model is very different from that of Microsoft's Xbox and Sony's PlayStation. Unlike competitors, Nintendo nearly controls the entire supply chain by creating the hardware, producing its games, and financing and marketing the games. Almost 85% of Nintendo's games are the company's own titles, the opposite of other console makers. By having hardware and software development under one organization, both teams can work collaboratively, enabling new innovations. Game developers can simply walk over to the console developers to understand what's technically capable. In recent years, Microsoft and Sony have followed a similar approach as both companies bought up game publishers like Activision and Bungie. It's a power move by these console makers: buy the publishers, control distribution, and increase profits. Which brings us to the console wars. Nintendo's history is marked by a cycle of innovation, risks, flops, and successes. In the 2000s, the console wars heated up, and in 2006, Nintendo released the Wii. The platform was its first attempt at motion sensing capabilities, where users could manipulate items based on motion, gesture, and pointing controls. Although sales spiked early on, given its novel features, the console ultimately failed to live up to the hype. And many game developers opted away from the platform, leaving the console with just a small selection of games. In the early 2010s, Nintendo released another flop, the Wii U, and its stock underperformed the market. However, Nintendo's fortunes changed with the release of the Switch. Taking the lessons learned from the Wii, the company improved their motion control, added a touchscreen, and built a really great device. The console broke records, and sales continued to climb even 6 years later. Despite its success, there's still a big issue with the Switch. The console has significantly weaker processing power than the comparable versions of the Xbox and PlayStation, meaning players often find games on Xbox and PlayStation that are unavailable on the Switch, again limiting the selection of games. This is only one of many frustrations among gamers. Throughout history, Nintendo has made many strategic mistakes. For years, Nintendo viewed online services as unimportant and was slow to add these features. In some areas, Nintendo's technology quickly fell behind Xbox and PlayStation, which launched their online services in the early 2000s. And even when Nintendo finally caved in, it failed to deliver and instead developed a reputation for poor online offerings. In most of Nintendo's games, the online user experience is terrible. In-game voice chats are often missing, and its online services are unreliable. By now, seamless wireless compatibility should be a given. This attitude left the well-known gaming giant in the dust as competitors moved towards the cloud. Nintendo's cloud offering is virtually non-existent compared to competitors. In 2014, Sony launched PlayStation Now, a Netflix-like gaming service. Xbox followed in 2017 with Game Pass. Both Sony and Microsoft saw the importance of the cloud for gaming and quickly expanded their services. Like the rest of Microsoft's business, Xbox is openly embracing the cloud. In 2021, Microsoft made an industry-moving announcement that it plans to build Xbox directly into TVs, removing the need for a console altogether. Nintendo and its competitors' strategies continue to diverge, which could leave the enterprise even further behind. Sounds bad? There are more strategic failures where that came from. Despite Nintendo's popularity in casual and engaging multiplayer gaming, the company has struggled to succeed in the mobile market. Mobile gaming is one of the fastest and largest areas of the industry, making up over half the total gaming market size, with the PC and console markets splitting the other half. While there are only 114 million Switch consoles sold, there are 6.9 billion smartphone users worldwide. It's only natural for Nintendo to expand in this area, but Nintendo is playing catch-up, having only made its first serious push into mobile gaming in 2015. That same year, Activision Blizzard acquired Candy Crush maker King for $5.9 billion, showing just how serious other game developers were taking mobile. Gaming on mobile is an incredibly lucrative market, with Disney's Tsum Tsum mobile game racking up over $1 billion in lifetime revenue. Nintendo's first mobile success came in 2016 with the launch of Pokemon Go, but the company only shared a small part of the profits. Unlike its other franchises like Zelda and Mario, Nintendo only owns 32% of the Pokemon Company, which owns the Pokemon franchise. The other owners are Game Freak and Creatures. Making matters worse, another organization, Niantic Labs, an augmented reality software development company, was in charge of developing Pokemon Go, and Nintendo owns an undisclosed stake in the company. Nintendo's next mobile success came in 2017 with the launch of Fire Emblem Heroes, which hit $1 billion in global player spending. There are only 3 major problems. Yes, only 3. First, like Pokemon Go, Fire Emblem Heroes was developed by another company, Intelligent Systems, which co-owns the Fire Emblem IP. Despite the game's success, Nintendo only shared in part of its profits. Second, each year after launch, sales steadily declined, despite the massive uptake in mobile gaming during the COVID-19 pandemic. Third, more than half of the game's revenue came from Japan, twice the average amount of a Nintendo title. the game had failed to become a global hit. Nintendo's other mobile games were far from being considered blockbuster games. One reason for the lack of success in mobile may be its attitude toward making money. In 2019, the company asked its game development partners to adjust its games so that users won't spend too much in order to protect the brand's image. Instead of seeing mobile as a profit machine, Nintendo views it as a way to drive players to its consoles. One of Nintendo's development partners said, "Nintendo is not interested in making a large amount of revenue from a single smartphone game. If we managed the game alone, we would have made a lot more." But that doesn't mean Nintendo isn't trying. In 2021, Niantic partnered with Nintendo to create mobile apps using Niantic's real-world augmented reality tech. The first app in their pipeline is based on the Pikmin franchise. But even to this date, mobile makes up only 3% of Nintendo's total revenue. Mobile is a major opportunity that Nintendo hasn't been able to capitalize on, and whether they can find success in the mobile market remains to be seen. Nintendo wants to become more than just a gaming company. In 2018, Nintendo of America's then president Reggie Fils-Aime described it as an entertainment company, similar to how Netflix's founder Reed Hastings also referred to Netflix as an entertainment company, and not just a streaming service. Netflix has made many moves into gaming in recent years. They've acquired several mobile game studios. Streaming giants, such as Netflix, are increasingly viewing gaming companies as competitors as they all compete for consumers' time and attention. Being a standalone media or gaming business isn't enough these days. In 2015, Activision Blizzard made a push into Hollywood with the launch of their own movie studio, and in 2016, Blizzard Entertainment released their Warcraft movie, which had already been under development with Legendary Pictures. We're seeing more and more games being developed into movies and TV series. In 2016, Assassin's Creed and Angry Birds were released in theaters, and in 2022, the hit game The Last of Us was turned into a television series. Nintendo is in the early stages of this transition, with gaming still making up 96% of its revenue. Fils-Aime categorized Nintendo under 3 business pillars. The first is a dedicated video game business. The second is a mobile gaming business. And third is the expansion of Nintendo's IP outside of gaming. And that's where it gets interesting. It's a similar tactic that Disney used to expand its franchise. From massive theme parks to movies, TV series, and merchandise, Disney finds every monetization opportunity. Let's call it the Disney Playbook. What is the happiest place on Earth? Where else but the magical kingdom? Magic that Nintendo wants to recreate. In 2016, Nintendo announced plans for the first Super Nintendo World theme park in Universal Studios Japan, with a price tag of $500 million, followed by Universal Studios Hollywood and Orlando. The Japan theme park opened in 2021, later than expected, delayed by COVID-19. But the wait was worth it. Nintendo and Universal were ambitious with their technology, incorporating augmented reality goggles in its Mario Kart ride and giving guests wearable power bands which synced with their phones. Universal Creative Senior VP Thierry Coupe described Super Nintendo World as a life-sized, living video game. But theme parks were only the first page in the Disney Playbook. You can't copy Disney without movies. In 2018, Nintendo announced a collaboration with Universal and Illumination to produce a Mario film, which would be Mario's first film debut in nearly 25 years after the disastrous launch of the 1993 Super Mario Bros. Movie, which absolutely bombed. Some investors see Nintendo in the early stages of growth, similar to Disney in 2014. But Nintendo falls short in following one area of the playbook: merchandising. Disney has over 600 shopping experiences located in parks, malls, and partner stores. In 2021, Disney made $5.2 billion just from licensing its IP for merchandise. While Nintendo doesn't break down how much it makes on merchandise, it's likely not a significant amount. In the same year, Nintendo made $21 million from its playing cards division, less than 0.4% of what Disney made on its merch. And the total amount of merch that Disney sells is mind-blowing. In 2021, Disney was the largest global brand licensor, with $56 billion in merch sold globally. Pokémon came in at 5th place with $8.5 billion sold, but by now, we know that Nintendo only has a small stake in the Pokemon Company. These new ventures will bring additional brand value and incremental revenue to Nintendo, but likely not enough to move the needle. At the end of the day, Nintendo remains a gaming company, and it won't succeed unless it gives gamers what they want: better performance, improved online services, and a new console. Historically, console makers have released a new console every 4 to 7 years, and it's been 6 years since the launch of the Switch. With its processing power lagging behind the Xbox and PlayStations, gamers and investors are left wondering when the next console release will be. Rumors have been circulating for years about a mid-gen upgrade to the Switch, dubbed the Switch Pro. But according to the gaming publication Digital Foundry, Nintendo has opted to cancel this in favor of a new console that will succeed the Switch. While Nintendo has been able to keep investors happy in recent years with hit games like Animal Crossing, Splatoon 3, and the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet series, analysts are concerned about the Switch reaching peak sales. However, despite Nintendo's problems, Switch sales continue to grow each year, and fans keep coming back. Though, eventually, gamers will hold back on purchases with the expectation of a new console release. As the gaming industry undergoes a major transition towards cloud gaming, Nintendo risks falling further behind if it doesn't adapt. The company's traditional way of thinking and reluctance to fully embrace mobile gaming is holding it back from reaching its full potential. The world is changing, and in order for Nintendo to survive, it will need to change with it. If you enjoyed this content, subscribe to our free 4 times weekly newsletter that covers investing trends, news, and analysis. It's called The Average Joe, and it'll help you become a better investor. Concise, informative, and only takes 5 minutes to read. Subscribe for free using the link in our description, or head over to readthejoe.com. Thanks for watching. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Best of Investing.